rings appear on the outside. So they produce the less secondary xylem, but more secondary phloem. So the secondary phloem contains abundant storage parenchyma. So we will discuss this anomalous secondary growth later. So next one is the importance of secondary growth. So it is the means of replacement of the old non-functional tissues with the new active tissues. So the plants which showing this secondary growth, they can grow and live longer as compared to the other plants. So in why this secondary growth? So because what happens? So the old tissues, they becomes inactive, or they replaced by this secondary growth, and also they grow and live longer. If the secondary growth is present, so it provides a fire-proof, insect-proof, and insulating cover around the older plant pots. And commercial cork, it is a product of the secondary growth. So it is obtained from the Quercus super, that is cork oak. So wood is a very important product of the secondary growth. So it represents the secondary xylem. So secondary xylem, it is nothing but the wood. So we will discuss again this wood, the structure of wood in gymnosperms and angiosperms in later. So here wood is nothing but the secondary xylem. So secondary xylem means, so the vascular cambium which producing the secondary, during the secondary growth, the production of secondary xylem and secondary phloem will take place. So this is called as a secondary xylem, that is wood. Another term for this secondary xylem is the wood. So the cambium, it is a thin layer of generative tissue which is lying between the bark and the wood of the stem, and it is more active in woody plants. Okay, this cambium which produces a new layer of phloem on the outside and xylem on the inside, thus increasing the diameter of the stem. So due to this secondary growth, here the diameter of the stem will increases. In herbaceous plants, that is the cambium is almost inactive. In monocotyledon plants, it is usually absent. So these points are important. Okay. So generally, this one. So generally in dicots, that is cambium is present, but herbaceous dicots, it is almost inactive. Whereas in monocot, it is usually absent, cambium. So this one cambium which produces xylem. So xylem, secondary xylem becomes a wood, and the phloem here, it becomes bark. So there are two types of cambium, that is the cork cambium and vascular cambium. So cork cambium, it is a tissue which is found in many vascular plants as a part of the periderm. So cork cambium, it is nothing but it is a part of the periderm, and the cork cambium, it is a lateral meristem, and it is responsible for the secondary growth that replaces the epidermis in the roots and stem. So here, this cork cambium, which produce the outer layer, that is the periderm. So it is not found in many herbaceous dicots and some monocots, so which usually lack secondary growth. So generally this cork cambium also present in the plants with secondary growth, because here due to the secondary growth, what happens? So here the tissues inside will increase. So due to which rupturing of the epidermis will take place. So it is replaced by this periderm. So this periderm which is formed from this cork cambium. So the function of the cork cambium is to produce the cork. It is a tough protective material, and the synonym for this cork cambium also the bark cambium. Another names for this cork. So another name for this bark cambium or pericambium or phellogen. So the phellogen, it is defined as a meristematic cell layer which is responsible for the development of the periderm. Okay, so from this phellogen, that is the periderm, formation of periderm will takes place. So here the phellogen or bark cambium or cork cambium or pericambium. So these are the similar terms. So phellogen, another name, phellogen or bark cambium or pericambium. So it is the meristematic cell which from which here the development of the periderm, that is the outer layer of the outer layer will be formed. So in smaller stems and on a typically non-woody plants, sometimes secondary covering form called the periderm. So this periderm forms from the phellogen which serve as a lateral meristem. So the periderm which replaces the epidermis, and act as a protective covering like the epidermis. So here nothing but the epidermis which is replaced by the periderm. Okay. So here, what are the differences between this epidermis and periderm? So it is a flat cell. So epidermis, which is made up of flat cells with the thick outer walls and aerial parts covered with the waxy cuticle. And function is protection in the young plants. Whereas periderm, it is a waterproof cells with thick cell walls and dead at maturity. So they forms the outer bark in trees. So this one periderm outer layer. So the periderm consists of three different layers: phellogen, phelloderm, phellogen, and phellum. So these three constitute the periderm. So outer layer, that is the phelloderm, middle, that is the carcambium. So it produces the phelloderm outside and phellum inside. So cells that grow inwards from the phellogen, they are called as the phelloderm. Okay, the cells that grow inwards from the phellogen, they are called as a phelloderm. So the cells that develop outwards are called as a phellum or cark, similar with the vascular cambium. So here nothing but the okay. So this phellogen, it is nothing but so. For example, it is similar to the cambium here. So here the cambium which produces phloem, secondary phloem towards outside and secondary xylem towards inside. Okay, secondary xylem towards inside like this. Here also, phellogen, it produces phelloderm outwards and phellum towards inside. So total, this structure, it is called as a periderm. Similar to this, okay. So loosely packed mass of cells in the bark of the woody plant, which are visible on the surface of the stem, as raised a powdery spot, so through which gases exchange will occurs in the lenticels. So another term, that is the lenticels, which are present in the this periderm region. So the initial periderm is interrupted at points around the stem by the occurrence of lenticels. So Latin word, that is lentis, lentil. So these are the blister-like and lenticular ruptures in the surface. So the name lenticels comes from the fact that it lens-shaped. Okay, due to the lens-shaped, it is called as lenticels. So here through which the gases exchange occurs. So the cells of the lenticel also tend to expand outside the stem and yielding that blistered appearance. So each lenticel therefore becomes a pathway through which gases can diffuse to the living cells of the bark. So these lenticels mainly helps in the exchange of gases. So without sufficient oxygen, cells of the bark can die. So the vascular cambium, we already discussed. So it is a lateral meristem in the vascular tissues of the plant. So the vascular cambium is the source of both secondary xylem, that is inwards towards the pith, and the secondary phloem, which is produced outwards the outwards. So it is located between these tissues in the stem and root. So a few leaves even have the vascular cambium. So vascular cambia are found in dicots and gymnosperms, but not monocots. So which usually lack secondary growth. So generally in monocots, secondary growth is absent, but however, some exceptional cases are there. We will discuss later. So anomalous secondary growth. So the vascular cambium usually consists of two types of cells, that is a fusiform shells and rain shells. So fusiform shell, that is the tall cells and axially oriented, rain shells, isodiametric, smaller and round to angular in shape. So these vascular cambium initials have only primary cell walls that are never lignified, and their tangential walls are thinner than the radial walls and lack the primary pit fields. So the radial walls often have the numerous orderly arranged primary pit fields. Radial walls have pit fields, which gives the walls beaded appearance. So when the cells are dormant, They have few and small vacuoles, but in the active state, they becomes highly vacuolated. So this is also a special character, that is a highly vacuolated cells. So during the secondary growth, the vascular cambial cells, they are highly vacuolated. So vascular cambium cells have no intercellular spaces and they grow intrusively. So cross divisions of these fusiform initials may shorten the vertical axis of the cells to shorter cells that can change into ray cells. So the growth of both secondary tissues and rays may be storied. So another term, that is the storied or stratified, in which the cells are arranged in the uniform horizontal series, are non-storied, means non-strated, stratified, in which the uniform arrangement does not exist. So two terms, the growth of the both secondary tissues and rays, it may be a storied. Storied means the cells are arranged uniformly in the horizontal series. Non-storied means, or non-striated means, in which this uniform arrangement does not exist. So structure of the cambium. So the cellular structure of the cambium, size of the cambial cells, structure of cambium, and cell divisions in the cambium. Okay. So this is about the vascular cambium. Okay. So next one is the secondary growth. So growth, which is, so generally the growth which is responsible for increase in the height of the plant, it is called as a primary growth, and which produces the primary tissues. So it is brought about by the activity of the meristem. So generally primary growth which takes place through the activity of this meristematic tissues and the meristem, which involved in increase in the height of the plant, either apical or through the apical meristem or intercalary meristem. So these meristematic tissues, which are responsible for the primary growth of the plant. So generally, the meristematic tissues, that is the apical meristematic tissues and intercalary meristematic tissues, they mainly involved in the growth of primary growth of the plant. Okay, so many monocots and some herbaceous dicots, they possess only primary growth. Many monocots and some herbaceous dicots, they possess only primary growth. That is, they mainly involved in the increase in the height. So in gymnosperms, woody as well as the herbaceous dicots. So some monocots also. The monocots, the stem and root continue to grow not only in length but also in diameter. So this is called as a secondary growth. Okay, secondary growth means it is nothing but it is increasing the length of the stem, a diameter of the stem. So it is called as the secondary growth. So secondary growth, it can be defined as the production of secondary tissues by the activity of the vascular cambium and cork cambium in the stellar and extrastellar regions, which leading to the increase in the girth of the stem or root. Okay, so secondary growth means it is nothing but the production of the secondary tissues by the activity of vascular cambium and cork cambium in the stellar and extrastellar regions, leading to increase in the girth of the stem or root. So this vascular cambium and cork cambium, they are also called as the lateral meristems, because they have present at the lateral sides of the plant. So they are present at the lateral side and they mainly involved in the secondary growth. Okay. So here the primary growth which takes place through the apical and intercalary meristem, whereas the secondary growth which takes place through this lateral meristem. So complete secondary growth which occurs in two regions, that is the stellar region and extrastellar region. So here this when you observe the structure, so here this is the at the tip region, that is the primary xylem, vascular cambium, and primary phloem is present. In the center, that is pith is present. So here that is primary xylem, secondary xylem, vascular cambium, secondary phloem, and primary phloem. So here the secondary growth will occur. So here the cells are they are thin, but here the stem, when we can come to down, so the stems become thick, and that is increase the girth of the stem is observed. Okay, so due to the due to this secondary growth. Here the increase in the girth is occurring. So first one is here secondary growth. It is two types. So based on the position, that is stellar secondary growth and non-stellar. Okay, so stellar secondary growth. First one is a stellar secondary growth, which occur in plant due to the vascular cambium. So in plant, there are two kinds of vascular cambium, which is present inside the stele. That is the intervascular and vascular cambium or intravascular. So another term for this vascular is intra. So cambium, which is located between the two vascular bundles, it is called as the intervascular, and the cambium present between the xylem and phloem are the single vascular bundle. That is parenchyma cells, which are part of the medullary race and are in the line with the vascular cambium, which starts become meristematic. Thus, the intervascular cambium is formed. Okay, so intra and inter. So this one is the intravascular cambium, and here the cells becomes active to form the uh, cambium. So it is called as the intervascular. Okay, so this vascular and intervascular cambium now join hands to form the complete cambium ring. So the vascular cambium, that is the vascular cambium, which is composed of two types of cell, that is a fusiform and range cells. So this one is the range cells and these are the fusiform initials. So they are the fusiform initials are elongated and spindle shaped and produce the vascular tissue. Okay, these fusiform initials, they are elongated and fusiform spindle shaped, and they produce the vascular tissue. And these fusiform initials, they are elongated tapering cells. So that gives rise to all cells of the vertical system of the secondary phloem and xylem. That is the secondary tracheal elements, fibers, sieve cells, and companion cells. Whereas the range cells, these are the smaller and isodiametric and gives rise to the xylem and phloem race. Okay, general again the component xylem. So mainly the xylem race and phloem race, they are developed produced from this ray initials. So they produce the vascular race, so which constitute the horizontal system of the secondary tissue. So this horizontal system act and the translocation and storage of the food and water. So they mainly involved in this ray initial. They produce the secondary xylem race and phloem race. They mainly involved in the translocation and storage of the food and water. So the cambial cell, which divide tangentially and produce the secondary xylem on the inner side and secondary phloem on the outside. So here this one. So the cells which are present in between these vascular. So here, okay. So this one is a vascular bundle. So the cambium, which is present between the present in between the xylem and phloem, it is called as a vascular cambium. And this the cambium, which is present in between these two vascular bundles. So this one is one vascular bundle, and here another vascular bundle. So present between these two vascular bundles. So the cells between these are the parenchymatous cells, but due to some signals, they receive some signals and they becomes meristematic, and these parenchyma cells becomes meristematic and form the intervascular cambium. So they form the ring-like structure. So here they form the ring-like structure. This vascular and intervascular cambium forms a ring-like structure, and they produce the secondary xylem towards inside and secondary phloem towards the outside. Okay. So here the secondary xylem is composed of xylem vessels, fibers, and there is less of wood parenchyma. Whereas the secondary phloem, they consist of sieve tubes, companion cells, and phloem parenchyma. So due to increase in the girth, the cells of the non-vascular tissue, that is the medullary race, pith, and hypodermis and cortex, become tangentially compressed. So as the new cells are produced, what happens? So the cells present in these tissues, they become compressed. So the secondary tissue put pressure on the primary phloem, which is lying immediately outside, and therefore it gets crushed. So here this intervascular cambium and intravascular cambium, they join to form the cambial ring and producing the secondary xylem and secondary phloem. So here this is the secondary growth. So vascular bundles in the dicot stem. So where in between this cambium is present. So it is called as the vascular cambium, and here it is they form the ring-like structure. So these are called as the intervascular cambium. So they form the this one. So intervascular cambium. In between the vascular bundles, they can form the meristematic tissue. It is the intervascular cambium, and they join to produce the secondary xylem towards inside, and secondary phloem towards the outside. So it producing the secondary phloem outside and secondary xylem inside. So when we compare, so it producing more amount of secondary xylem and less amount of secondary phloem. Okay. So this is the stellar secondary growth. So another one is the extrastellar secondary growth. Next one is the extrastellar secondary growth. So when the large amount of secondary tissues are produced in the stellar region, the epidermis gets stretched and ultimately ruptures. So here as a continuous division will take place, what happens? So new tissues will be produced. So due to which the outer layer becomes gets stretched and it becomes rupture. So to protect the inner tissue, the epidermis is replaced by a new secondary tissue. It is called as a periderm. So the periderm, which consists of 3 layers, which are meristematic in nature. That is the carp cambium or phellogen, first carp cell or phellum, or carp, which is produced by the phellogen towards the outside. And the phelloderm or secondary cortex or a tissue that resembles the cortical parenchyma and consists of the inner derivatives of the phellogen. Okay, so it is the extrastellar region. Also here the secondary growth will occur through the carp cambium. So this carp cambium which produces the phelloderm, phellogen, which phellum or carp, which is produced by the phellogen. Okay, so this phellogen which produce the carp or phellum, and phelloderm towards the outside. So the phellogen which is originates in the primary cortex through the dedifferentiation. It is called as the reversion of the permanent parenchymatous cells into the meristematic cells. So here from this carp cambium. So this carp cambium which is originates in the primary cortex. So the cells which are present in the cortex regions becomes meristematic, dedifferentiated to form the phellogen. So it produces the phelloderm or secondary cortex towards secondary cortex. So this resembles the cortical parenchyma. Okay. So it produces outside here periderm. So here the cork cells, it produces the outer periderm, and here phellum, phelloderm. So cork cambium. So here outside cork and phelloderm inside. So phelloderm, it is nothing but the secondary cortex. Outside cork and inside phelloderm. So this cork cambium which producing the cork outside and phelloderm inside. So this cork, it is nothing but the protective layer. So total it is called as the phellogen. So the phelloderm, it is composed of cells that remain arranged in the definite radial rows. So they helps in the storage of the food. So phellum or carp, it is composed of cells which are arranged in distinct radial rows without intercellular spaces and without protoplast at maturity. So these cells, they are filled with either air or with the highly colored organic substances, so which may be resinous or tanniferous compounds. So here they are filled with colored organic substances. So here this one is the phellogen, it producing the phellum or bark outside and phelloderm or secondary cortex inside. So in the big perennial trees, the phellogen originates successively towards the inner side. So the early formed phellogen does not function throughout the life, but it is replaced by many successive phellogen layers. So it is also again replaced. So this causes the accumulation of the dead cell tissues on the outside the stem and root. So the such composite periderm, it is called as the rhytidome, shell bark. So as this continuously the production of this phellum occurring continuously, so they form the such type of periderm. It is called as the rhytidome. So it consists of carp, cortical layers, and dead phloem. So bark, it is a non-technical term which is referred to the all the tissues which lying outside the vascular cambium. But often it is used to designate the phellum, mainly phellum. But it is in general it is referred as the this tissues which lying outside the vascular cambium. Okay. So this is about the second vascular cambium and secondary growth.
Okay. Regarding of this class, if you have any doubts, my dear friends. I have given a chance to unmute yourself and interact with our respected madam because of today's very excellent class and most important class regarding of CPGET 2024. Any competitive exam, including CPGET, minimum 2 to 3 questions has come to the comes from this anatomy, especially plant anatomy, secondary growth, anomalous secondary growth, and vascular bundle, especially vascular cambium, fascicular, intrafascicular cambium, and also the in the secondary growth, the terminology, phellum, phelloderm, phellogen. These are the most important terms, my dear friends. Without these terms, there is no question paper in your CPGET 2024. So reminded once again, my dear friends, if you have any doubt regarding of this class, please interact our respected madam. Okay? Any doubt?
Okay. So Srinaini has one doubt, that is intravascular and intervascular.
Okay.
So here, so, the cambium which is present between, so this is the so is it visible screen?
Yes, madam, it is visible. Please click on slideshow.
Okay. Okay, so this is the vascular bundle. So during the secondary growth, what happens? So this is here. This is the vascular bundle. Okay. Okay, this is the so the cambium which is present between the is a red color one is a xylem, and here this one is the phloem. So this small strip, it is called as a cambium. It is called as a intravascular cambium, okay, which is present between the xylem and phloem. It is called as the intravascular cambium, and this one, this layer, so it is called as the intervascular cambium. Okay, so the cambium which is present between the xylem and phloem, it is called as the intravascular cambium. Whereas the phloem, this one, the cambium which is formed during the secondary growth, it is called as the intervascular cambium. So they join this intra and this intervascular cambium, they join to form the cambial ring. So this will happen during the secondary growth. Okay, so intra means within the vascular bundle, that is in between the xylem and phloem. It is called as the intra. Inter means between the vascular bundles. So the cambium which is present between the vascular bundles, so it is called as the intervascular cambium. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Ma'am, ma'am,
Will you-
in the
Yeah.
CPGET examination, what is the time duration, ma'am?
Time duration.
They gave that 90 minutes, ma'am.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay, later, sir will discuss later regarding this time duration.
Madam, thank you very much. It is a very lengthy class and a very important class regarding of all the competitive exams related to plant sciences, plant anatomy, secondary growth, anomalous secondary growth, vascular cambium, and the other terminology you should remember, my dear friends. So thank you very much, Dr. P. Manjula Madam Garu. Your huge experience we are observed in this class. Very, very clear crystal and very informative. Thank you very much, madam. So tomorrow we will meet same time. Thank you very much, madam.
Okay, thank you, sir.